without conceding much in return.
Are you serious? Well, first off, the exports control was honestly huge. They had to one delay that, and then two, they reinstated their soybeans. So, what you mean we didn't get nothing in return? Like that's what I'm saying. It's kind of weird how some of these guys report because it's like by withholding soybean purchases that was returned and rare earth exports. Well, they never actually froze the rare earth exports. They were trying to get other countries to do it in unison with them. That was the goal. Let's see here. Trying to extract relief from the US tariffs, not full relief. Like, what do you mean? Like, see, this is very misleading because by 10%, when you said extracted relief from US tariffs, you're kind of making it sound like we just dropped our tariffs completely. Like, can you be more accurate in your reporting, New York Times? Because it only went from 57% to 47%. So they weren't relieved from US tariffs. They just got a reduction in US tariffs.
What is your response tonight?
But hey, man, you know Dems, bro. They'll just read that headline and they'll go with it.
Laura, good to be with you, and happy 8th anniversary
Not
on
all of
the
y'all.
angle. And
Thank you.
I've stayed behind in the Republic of Korea to represent the U.S. at the APEC conference. And I can tell you, this was one of President Trump's finest moments, and everything that he's been doing since he came back on January 20th, rolled into this moment. He's been doing peace deals, trade deals, tax deals, and in terms of trade deals, he came into China's backyard. He was in Malaysia at the ASEAN conference. We signed deals with Malaysia. He was credited with stopping the war between Thailand and Cambodia. We moved on to Japan, where he signed a historic trade deal with Japan. Takes tariffs on American products down to virtually zero. We get $550 billion from the Japanese in terms of public sector investment, the trillions of dollars of private sector investment. Then we came to Korea, and the historic meeting yesterday between President Trump and President Xi. And Laura, I can tell you, I've been privileged to be at 3 leaders meetings with President Trump. Yesterday was the 4th, but there was G7 in Canada. There was the meeting at the UN where about 85% of the Muslim world was represented by their leaders. There was a meeting at ASEAN where all the Asian leaders wanted to speak to and be with President Trump. And then yesterday was a historic day. He sat down face to face with President Xi. We are the two largest economies in the world, and he negotiated a fantastic deal for the U.S. And anyone who says that it was anything different, has Trump derangement syndrome, because
Literally.
President Trump, the respect that President Xi.
I mean, when you got to come up with BS headlines like, "Oh, China won the trade war" and all this wild stuff, I'm like, how did they win? How did they win when we completely got them to push back all their aggressions, but we still got our tariffs on them, still at 47%? So how did they win again? And then we got them to start buying back our soybeans. Like, how did they win? What did they get back? What did they get from us besides like tariff relief? We got them to buy products. I mean, byproducts and also stop their control. That's it. But what did they honestly get from us?
President Trump was evident in the room. The two of them have a very solid relationship, and as President Trump said, it was a 12 out of 10. What we came away with, what were our gives? Our gives were we reduced from 57 to 47% the tariffs. Based on their willingness to comply with stopping fentanyl precursors, which they ship into North America. And Laura, what's the price that you put on American lives? Hundreds of thousands of Americans dying every year, families ruined, and President Trump is focused on ending this great tragedy. There's going to be heavy compliance. We're going to set up a system of quantitative measurements to see if they are keeping up with those. And on October 8th, China unilaterally put or said that they were going to put a rare earth licensing regime on the entire world,
Yep.
and President Trump, as the leader of the free world, got this delayed by one year. So it wasn't just for the U.S., it was for the entire world.
Well, what
Why is that
happens a year
important?
from
Because
now?
our supply chains are so integrated.
Right. What happens a year from
A
now,
year
Mr.
from now,
Secretary?
we'll be at the table. My guess is a year from now we'll be back at the table, and we'll get another delay, another roll, because what everyone misses is the Chinese have rare earths, but we have President Trump's threat on tariffs. He gave the team maximum negotiating leverage when, within 24 hours of the Chinese announcing the potential export controls, he said, if this happens, I will raise the tariffs on China 100%, which is, in essence, an embargo. And the U.S.
Yeah, it's pretty much like, honestly, it's an even trade. All right, well, if you want to try to control rare earth mineral exports to try to raise our prices, then great. We'll just put 100% on tariff on you and basically decouple from you and decimate your manufacturing base, because their manufacturing base lives off American consumerism. They can't find no other country that's going to buy like us. And I mean, if you're a liberal and sane enough to think that they can, I mean, you just don't know the global economy.
Yes, we are the deficit country. China
Or
has
global
to
markets either.
export to us. So the deficit country, the always wins, the surplus country loses. So we have lots of we have lots of arrows in the quiver that we can use against them. But Laura, I think what's more interesting here is maybe we can settle into a good place where the competition is more fair. We have substantial tariff income. As you said, we have a chance to start building out our own rare earth network. And Laura, it's not just rare earths. The previous administration was asleep at the wheel. It's rare earths, it's semiconductors, it's shipping, it's precursor pharmaceuticals and medicines. It's about 7 strategic industries that we have to become independent. We do not want to decouple from China. We need to de-risk. And with President Trump's historic leadership,
I mean, really, yes, we need to diversify. We need to get rare earth minerals from other countries, including our own. We need to start producing our own as well, but we need to wane off China when it comes to rare earth minerals and other things as well. And if we can do that, then China will have less authority when it comes to those rare earth mineral control that they were going to try to impose on other, well, honestly, around the world. It was a global. And the only reason why Trump found out about it is because countries came to Trump and said, look what China's trying to do. They're trying to control our exports, which was basically asking these countries to shoot themselves in the foot profit-wise.
We're going to de-risk, and it is an all-hands-on-deck effort across all the departments in this administration.
The question remains, I think, as time goes on, can we ever really guarantee our independence if we are reliant upon a communist regime for critical?
Well, guys, you got any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements, or just want to show some support? Send in a super chat, $2 and up. I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going. And like I said, for the naysayers, I mean, the call-in line is still open for you guys who actually want to debate. Like I said, like it does seem like the left is being a bunch of keyboard warriors and they just use emotional arguments. But hey, prove me wrong, please. The last left guy I had up here, he was trying to convince us that all of MAG is Nazis, but couldn't substantiate it with one clip, one website, one speech, nothing.
Critical industries and critical materials, such as rare earths.
Laura, of course not. Of course not. And what we're going to do is we are establishing our domestic industry, and we are working with like-minded allies around the world to immunize ourselves from these problems. And we didn't get here overnight. This was a problem that occurred over 2-3 decades, but I think in 12, 24, 36 months, it's very achievable that we will be able to stand on our own.
Well, Democrats, it wouldn't surprise you, are painting this as a win for the CCP. Watch.
It appears to most reasonable observers that Donald Trump was punked on the world stage by the Chinese Communist Party.
How?
The notion that Donald Trump has created all
So he got punked by him, but he got them to buy soybeans. He got punked by him, but he still has tariffs on him. But he got punked by him. I mean, you guys can't even make that make sense. I mean, that's why Hakeem Jeffries won't even substantiate why he's saying that. Like, bro, give us details on how he got punked. They can't give it to you. I mean, just like people in the chat would try to say it, but all right, give me the details on it. Because if we read out what happened in that negotiation, you would sound insane to say that Trump got punked.
this trouble for the American people, which he has, the Trump tariffs.
All right, new debate prompt, though. If you think that you can debate me in this topic, please come up. Trump did not get punked in the deal with China. Actually, Trump got what he wanted with the deal with China. If you can debate that and come on up and convince me, sure. And dude, I'll give you the first 5 minutes to explain.
Are raising costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars per year.
Mr. Secretary, punked. I thought that word went out like, I don't know, 10 years ago, but.
And here's the thing. This is how you know also that the left continuously lies about tariffs. Because, I mean, if tariffs, why did the New York Post call it a tariff relief if the consumer pays tariffs? They said China was getting relieved of Trump's tariffs. Now, what relief, guys? I thought that tariffs went straight to the consumer. So what relief would China be having to deal with if it just goes straight to the consumer? Like, how does that make sense? Like, what relief from tariff? You kind of see how their own arguments fall apart and they kind of snitch on themselves, because it kind of goes to show that, yes, these Chinese companies are paying these tariffs. But, hey, man, hey. New York Times said it. New York Times said it, not me, because what's there to be relieved about if it goes straight to the consumer? Let's use some common sense here.
There you have it. Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, well, look, he's the leader of the Democratic talking points. He's shut down the government, which is an international embarrassment. And where were they? The Democrats, for the first 2 years, had the trifecta. They had the presidency, they had the House, they had the Senate, and what did they do? They did squat. They did squat. They wrote papers. They talked a lot. Nothing got done. And, you know, not only did we inherit a gigantic deficit, we inherited a deficit of action on all of these problems. And, you know, during COVID was the beta test for what happens. China proved itself to be an unreliable partner during COVID, and everyone should have taken that as all hands on deck. And instead, you know, the Democrats.
I know, how crazy is it that it literally came from the Wuhan lab, which America, we had some involvement in that, I'm not gonna lie, but it did come out of China. And then they're going to also withhold, you know, our vital, pharmaceuticals, masks, and all that good stuff, those vital necessities that we needed in that moment. They kind of just slow rolling it to us. Yeah. After that, we kind of realized that we need to depend on ourselves instead of China.
We're busy blowing out the spending, you know, sending money for, you know, the transgender surgery in Central America and the gender studies in, you know, Myanmar. That was their idea. So, you know, for Representative Jeffries to even say anything is really disingenuous, and you know he knows better, but he can't say better. You know, that's the problem with today's Democratic Party. They're a hive. They have one set of talking points. They can't move away from them. You know, 3 brave Democratic senators have come across the aisle to reopen the government.
And shout out to Steph. I'm laughing at y'all chicken shits. I know, Steph. Usually I don't do this. Usually I just wait for the goal to be met. But during the daytime, the left does come out in big numbers. I'm just like, okay, you know what? I've been on TikTok lately because I've been seeing like somebody pointing me in this guy's Parker and Dean Withers direction, and they was like, "Oh, said you need to start doing something like that and run away from debate." And dude from the left told me this, so I was like, "All right, I'll take that fair criticism and I'll open it up." Because I seen how much MAGA guys was willing to line up to debate these guys, and I'm like, all right, shout out to MAGA. So I thought the same thing was going to be done on the left. I thought I was going to get the reciprocal, but I did not. Actually, I just got a bunch of keyboard warriors. And then the one time somebody came up, they wanted to try to convince me that all of MAGA are Nazis. So I learned something. I definitely learned something with this. That MAGAs actually wanted to have the debate, and the left, all they got is emotion and shame tactics. That's it. They had nothing else, no facts, no nothing, or they'd come up here and debate me, and they'd feel real confident in doing so. Just like I feel real confident in opening up this call-in line to debate you. So I would ask you to show the same confidence in your points that I do.
I'm calling on 5 more to come across, reopen the government before Thanksgiving, because as we can see, Newark Airport, Reagan Airport, air traffic controllers are going out, and what if there's an accident? What if there's an accident due to the shutdown? It is going to lie with the Democratic senators. 52 Republican senators have voted to reopen the government.
And bro, whoever says about free reviews, dog, I have maybe 1,000 of you guys who show up in here every day. Right now, the view count on this video is 86,000 views. 86,000 of you people have been watching this show so far in the past hour and 38 minutes. It's not about views, dog. It's about you guys are just cowards. And you can't really substantiate your arguments. Period, point blank. I mean, you get your arguments from the bigger guys, but that's it. I mean, you don't really know how to substantiate those arguments. You just have talking points. So, nah, it's not about views, my friend. Trust me. It can't be about that. Because, I mean, look how much of y'all disagree with me right now. Y'all are in here, but when I open up that call-in line, y'all don't want to come up. But, hey, when they open up their call-in line, MAGA lines up. Shoot, if I ask MAGA to come up right now and debate some stuff, they'll do it.
3 Democratic senators have. 52-3, Laura.
Mr. Secretary, how long can this go on with this shutdown? I mean, people are really hurting. SNAP benefits, obviously, I believe tomorrow is, people are going to be out of luck, out of money. We have a concern about government workers. The list goes on and on. But are there any ways to find money to pay people who need to be paid, given the Democrats' intransigence?
Well, Laura, we were able to pay our brave men and women in the armed services. I believe that we will be able to pay them on November 1st. We're working hard to try to find a way to do it if this thing drags on to November 15th. But Laura, you and I know the day after Thanksgiving is the busiest travel day in America. And if our airports are shut down, it'll mean that highways are more congested, and they'll be the Grinches who stole Thanksgiving. I don't even know what to say. I think that I keep calling them 5 senators come across the aisle. You will be heroes to the American people.
Literally.
Mr. Secretary, Jerome Powell yesterday kind of threw some
the 5 Dems that come over, you might up your presidential stock for next year. Well, my bad, in 2028. You might be able to do that for yourself. But if not, and you want to sit there with the hive mind of the left that's just kind of screwing over the American people, just to say F Trump. Because it's not about healthcare. I'm going to be real with you. It's not. It's literally about F Trump. And it's because Schumer caught so much slack for keeping the government open the first time, and they were threatening to primary him. What was AOC? Jasmine Crockett was calling this man a coward, saying that he bent to Trump. And now he just didn't want to face that backlash, so he shut down the government and created the BS excuse of, well, healthcare. Even though the healthcare subsidies didn't end until the 31st, but he was over here lying, saying that, oh, next year you'll see your, well, not next year, but he said next month when you get that letter, you'll see your premium skyrocket. And I'm just like, bro, if that's the case and the subsidy don't end until the 31st, then doesn't that mean the increase kind of already comes with the subsidies? So the pricing already came with the subsidies is basically what he's saying. But everybody thought that your healthcare was in danger. $1.5 trillion in Medicaid funding. Well, be honest with you, we only got like 70 million Americans on Medicaid. We was helping out the 71 million Americans with $615 billion in 2019. Now, yes, inflation was bad, but it wasn't that bad to where we need to go to 600 billion to 1.2 trillion. Like, we can all admit that at least.
Water, it seems, it came across to a lot of people, including yours truly, throw cold water on the Asian trip by saying basically that the rate cut in December wasn't a foregone conclusion. Your reaction to Powell's decision to give those remarks yesterday?
Look, I think it's endemic of a Fed that has been completely wrong, whether it's on tariffs or the economy. They started cutting rates. I think that we should be in a cycle here, and I'm not sure what the problem is with the voters. Last year they voted for the massive 50 basis point rate cut in September before the election in November. Clearly very political. Then two rate cuts after that, and the labor market was in better shape then. The inflation levels were the same. So I'm afraid that the board may be playing politics here, and what's really discouraging is we were starting to see signs of a nascent recovery in the housing market. Housing market is obviously the most interest rate sensitive sector of the economy. Americans have been pushed out of affordability in the housing market, and this isn't helpful what the Fed's doing here. And when I look, rents are down, and that's one of the biggest components of inflation. So it's like they want to have a nation of renters and not owners.
Certainly looks like it. Anything you want to tell us finally, very importantly, about
Give
the
me that one,
birds
guys.
behind you, because they seem to be quite exercised about.
I mean, shoot, you know what? We could also have that prompt as well. Who pays tariffs? Now, I always say now, who pays tariff decides on the competition in that market or industry. So if we're talking about something that has like a very low competition, like places in tech, like AI and all that good stuff, the tariffs that are involving anything concerning AI, yeah, that can increase how much you pay for your AI product or service. Now, if we're talking about something like clothing, yeah, that gets passed down that doesn't go to the consumer because one, there's too much competition. And what if the other suppliers don't raise their price? You'd be losing out on sales. So you'd have to be, I mean, really, you'd have to not really know too much about how business works if you think that honestly, if you really think that tariff just goes straight to the consumer and that consumer pays it. Because I mean, even Ford and GM have came out and said they're eating the tariffs as well. They say, well, all right, cool, we'll eat $14 billion in tariff to maintain sales. Foreign car companies just came out and said they're going to eat the tariff to the profit margin to compete with the American car market because, well, guess what? Their cars don't get tariffed. So I'm be real with you. You have to know a little bit about business to understand tariffs, just a little bit.
About the whole summit, the whole meeting. Well, have you done something to scare them, Mr. Secretary? I don't know what's going on there.
No, Laura. Once Air Force One left, the magnitude of the conference kind of lost a little altitude when President Trump left. So I'll be sitting in the seat for the U.S. delegation. No one.
Oh, and a lot of y'all also making good points about tariffs, especially when we have products made in America. Yeah, why would those foreign companies want to raise their prices on companies who don't have to raise it, who don't have no tariff costs at all? Why would they raise their prices and risk losing all their sales to the cheaper American made product? Like I said, man, it's damn near common sense. If you take off the TDS glasses or you relieve yourself of it just for 5 minutes, you will see the common sense in what I'm saying here. Or I guess just the business, well, really just the business practice of it. Because you see it every day, to be quite honest. You really do. I mean, you see it in furniture, electronics, and I always do say, depending, tariffs do not get passed down to the consumer if it's a highly saturated market or if there's too many other options. Basically, I said the same thing, though, be honest.
Does it like President Trump? He's clearly the leader of the world, and this is a historic time for him, for the world. And this is what American leadership looks like. He came he came to Asia and signed these trade deals, the peace deals, and led through strength. And it's America's back on the world stage, and President Trump's leading it.
And the birds are enjoying every minute of it, apparently. Mr. Secretary, thank you very much for spending so much time with us tonight. We will talk to you very soon. Congratulations on this week.
I mean, come on, guys. Do you really know how tariffs work? the three parties, the producer, the importer, and the customer. The importer being the one that pays the tariff because it's a tax on imports. But yes, the importer be the one paying the 10%. Let's say this scenario: importer got to pay 20% tariff on his imports, right, to get the product. Now, if he's in a highly saturated market or a market with high competition, he got to call the other guy in China and be like, yo, look, you need to drop your prices, or I can go to Indonesia, Bangladesh. I can go somewhere else to get my product made to where there's no tariff on it. So you're either going to drop your price by 20%, or I'm just going to leave and I'm going to go with somebody else. And this will be the last order you get from me. That's usually how it works out, especially when they have all the options in the world from other countries. So to sit here and say that, oh, tariff goes straight to the consumer every time in every market in every scenario is incorrect. I mean, come on now, just off that, it just don't make sense. And yes, I took economics, micro and macroeconomics. And hey, I'm not saying I'm the biggest economic expert in the world, but I do know the basics. Like the basics. You just need to know the basics for this. I'm not even saying you just need to be an economic scholar or anything like that. It's just knowing the basics of economics. Or if you ever really just own a business or talk to business owners, they'll tell you the same thing. Like it's common sense, and you've just been radicalized against tariffs. Just say that it goes straight to the consumer. And really, you're preaching propaganda for the corporate elites because one, the corporations are the ones who really get hit with the tariffs. A lot of these corporations love to sit overseas, pay these guys barely anything while sending their products over here to America to be sold. The fact that tariffs not only raise that price for them, so not only that American companies can compete, but these guys actually got to bring back some jobs here and actually start benefiting the people that they make the most money off of. So I ask you guys, who are y'all really for? Because you guys going against tariffs, you're for the corporations who take advantage of the American people, to be quite honest.
The President of the United States is the President of the United States. And at this point, as an American, I don't really care who's responsible. And I think a lot of Americans are feeling that way. They're like, the bickering game is happening.
Oh, somebody say, name one product made in America. Uline, for they're a company that give supplies for manufacturing workers and all that good stuff. Yeah, they do make most of all of their stuff in America. Yeah, Uline. So that's an American-made company who make all their products here. I mean, honestly, you can Google this. You can Google American-made products. Like you'd be surprised at some companies that make stuff in America, but they're not big corporations, so you don't know about them. I mean, no, literally, like family, like start trying to go to the family-owned businesses and get your products. You'd be surprised how much of those people you look over, just buying simple things.
I mean, there's polls about, are Democrats more responsible?
I mean, the reason you don't know is, I mean, let's be real. Corporations got a bigger marketing budget. So you actually got to look for honestly, the family businesses that are most likely, more safe and actually give a damn about, give a damn about you. I mean, what was it? Let's go to the padding companies, and don't ask me why this is in my head, but the padding companies for women, because I was looking into it. Now, the corporations who don't give a damn about women or anybody else for profit margin, they put chemicals in their pads. And these women wear this stuff, and these chemicals get soaked into their body, called infertility problems. Then there's the family-owned pad companies that have all natural ingredients. Women experience less pain during periods in general and all that good stuff. Like, you see what I mean? And those are American made versus the one that are corporate made that they get from China. You see what I mean? You get me now? Am I cooking or not? All right, let's get back to it.
I don't care anymore. There's kids who are going to starve.
Agree.
The president should get up and say, everyone come over to my house and let's have a conversation. I worked with him in the last shutdown, the 35-day shutdown from 2018 to 2019, in the administration to try to get him to end it. And I will tell you very candidly what that was like. Days just got burned where the president didn't care. He wasn't thinking about it. He was thinking about other things. We said, Mr. President, the troops aren't going to get paid. Mr. President, people might not be able to feed their kids. Mr. President.
Hey, I know. The period pads probably wasn't the best example to use, but it was the only one I had in my head at the moment. So it is what it is.
Central government services.
But all right, guys, let's tune into this video here because the clock ticks on 42 million American losing stamps. And like I said, I mean, Dems, you might want to actually hear your base out on this one. Just go ahead and open up that government.
Going to shut down, and guess what? He did not care. because to him this was a video game. But this is not a video game. Tomorrow night, there are families who are going to go out on American streets and they're going to trick or treat from the start of trick or treat until the very end. Do you know why? Because that might be the food they can afford to feed their kids for the next few days. That rocks me to hear anecdotes like that. And I'm not blaming you for it, Congressman. I'm just saying I would hope my fellow conservatives call on the president to say, you know what, Mr. President, who cares who's to blame? Bring them all to the House. Let's cut a deal. Let's reopen the government. Let's feed kids.
Even during the historic 35-day shutdown, SNAP was funded. And this is the first time that it hasn't been. The average household receives about $332 per month if they're using SNAP.
I'm not a fan of solving for one problem over another. A bill like Ted Cruz has to keep air traffic controllers going. This is all bad. The people vote their representation, and the government's supposed to do the work of the people. I say none of this stuff should go forward, so the pressure gets worse and worse and worse, whether it's SNAP, which is horrific, whether you can't travel. We're a very transit-based society in America.
True.
You can see it today. I flew into New York, delays like crazy, and it's just, these guys stopped getting paid tonight.
Wait, are you saying you don't think that anything should be funded?
No, no separate bills. I think you have to squeeze government on a bipartisan basis like a teenage pimple. Keep squeezing it until they get back to Washington and they solve the problem. Everybody's got an agenda item here. You've got this issue around health care. Other people have issues around SNAP. You've got the traffic controllers, air traffic controllers. Everybody's got an issue. And the reason they have an issue is the government of America is closed. So don't solve one vertical. Don't do anything until everybody is so pissed off. Because I'll tell you, next week, when the one that kills you every time is to get to an airport and there's a 5-hour lineup. That's the one that always gets government back to work. So Cruz is right to bring that bill, but I don't want it passed. I want those people pissed, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, saying to the representation, hey, bozos, get back to Washington.
Well, and let me just say this. I'm sorry. The people that I represent can't afford a plane ticket. So waiting in line for a delayed plane is not going to get them pissed. What's getting the people that I know who are upset are the people that are literally not being able to eat. To say that you're not holding Medicaid hostage when you know that Democrats are trying to negotiate to get health care back on the table.
That's the Affordable Care Act subsidy,
right?
Which is a totally different
Right, but
issue.
you know Democrats don't have leverage, so let's stop playing games. This is their only leverage that they have.
They've said this is the only leverage they have, which is why they shut the government.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for finally proving it and admitting it, that the Democrats shut the government down because it's the only leverage that they have to get what they want, which is terrible to use the American people as leverage. But this is it. They admitted that, yeah, I mean, the only way we can win with this very small majority that we have is to, well, hold the government hostage and, you know, have the small majority, which is the 5 people that we need to reopen the government, hold out. I mean, that's the strategy they're employing because it's all they got. I mean, they tried to say, oh, he's going against the courts. And then what happened? They took it to the Supreme Court and Trump wins every single time. I mean, so now they stopped the whole argument of he's going against the courts. And now, well, here we are with them kicking and screaming in the Senate talking about, oh, we want healthcare subsidies. We want 1.5 trillion in Medicaid. But the problem is, well, none of that actually is going to help the American people, sadly. And you're holding up what's actually going to help the American people from being sent to them. So, Dems, do you really want to continue this?
That's exactly it.
Where's the deal maker?
So where's the deal maker?
Come in and make a deal. So we've never allowed policy, and this is Chuck Schumer saying this. This is Hakeem Jeffries saying this. This is Nancy Pelosi saying this. We've never allowed policy to be extracted at the barrel of a gun by using a shutdown to hold the American people hostage. There's a very simple way to address all these issues. And by the way, I'm a lead co-sponsor on a bill to extend the ACA subsidy by a year. I went and asked Hakeem Jeffries 3 weeks ago, sign on to the bill. If this is what you're saying is the issue, let's get it done, sign on to the bill and join me. He said no, because it really was never about that. So if we want to address health care in America, let's do it. But you don't do it in a shutdown.
There's something really different about this shutdown. All of us who've lived through all these different shutdowns. I live in Washington, D.C., and what I remember from all of those shutdowns, you remember this, Sarah, there's always somebody on Capitol Hill bickering back and forth, whether they're with the speaker, they're Republican, Democrat. They're going at each other, trying to figure out and trying to cast blame. I take that with a grain of salt as well. But you don't see that right now. There's nobody in Washington, D.C. trying to work on this. The Senate, as you said, was sent home. There's no.
No, that's not. You're wrong. Actually, it was just what 2 days ago. This on the December 28th, not December, sorry, but October 28th was the last time that they voted to try to reopen the government. So the Senate is still there. When these guys sit there and lie and try to make it seem like the Republicans went home on vacation, well, not all of them. The senators are still there because they're the ones who need to open up the government. It already passed the House. So you guys crying about House members is like, that's a non-argument. It don't even matter. They already voted yes. We're waiting on the senators. And they know this. And you can't say that all the senators are gone because, hey, 2 days ago, they voted on it and 12 times before that. So now we're at the 13th time that the Dems have said no. Like, how is this the Republicans' fault again?
Nobody there. Donald Trump just got back from an Asia trip where he was gone for 8 days. People need to be back in Washington right now trying to solve this.
Can I just say, because you keep saying over and over, there's never, they've always signed on. Let me be clear. I'm an independent. I'm not a Democrat. I told Democrats they should have did the same thing that you're doing to them. They should have shut it all down, broke it all down. So I appreciate the or else, that Republicans are doing if that is the agenda that you're pushing. So I just want to be clear about that. When you say they've always signed on, they should have stopped signing on a long time ago when Sarah was following us with the George Floyd matter. They should have shut it down a long time ago when we were looking to expand the Supreme Court. So I am all for, pushing the agenda and using what you can as leverage. And Republicans do that best.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine and all. And I'll sit there and we'll say that, yeah, the Republicans shut down the government over a wall. I mean, they did it under Obama too. We blamed them because they were the demanding party. But let's be consistent then and have to blame the Dems. Since you guys are not a demanding party, you guys are complaining about, oh, we don't have enough power, so we have to do this. And this is how y'all going to get what y'all want. I mean, thank you for admitting it, but can you at least tell the American people that? Because there's a lot of people who honestly think that this is just, honestly still about healthcare.
Confused why Democrats are doing that is confusing to me.
In my conference last Congress that wanted to shut the government down over Joe Biden's open border policy. I and others said no, not because I disagreed with them on the substance of the issue, but because shutting down the government is not going to solve the problem. And in fact, what it's doing, the very people that you're talking about that are not going to get food assistance, that's what it does. It creates this tit-for-tat game where each side uses the American people as a hostage in a ridiculous negotiation. We can easily pass the clean CR, open the government up, pass an ACA subsidy extension. I don't want to see people's health care premiums go up. But the fact is that this subsidy, by the way, the Democrats passed to expire at the end of the...
And Republican Mike Lawler, he actually was the one who came out to Hakeem Jeffries and said, look, we're going to give you that 1 year extension on the Obamacare healthcare subsidies. And he was right there in Hakeem Jeffries' face, like, why aren't you signing it? Like, what's going on? I thought this was about the healthcare subsidies. You know what Hakeem Jeffries had to say? Well, he didn't address the argument. He didn't address his question. He just said, did you get that from your boss? Did your boss sign up on that? I'm like, bro, does it effing matter? Like, obviously, the Republicans are all on board with his plan. Like, if it's about healthcare subsidies, then why didn't y'all open it up when Lawler came out with the 1 year extension? Why?
This year. If they could have done a permanent extension while Joe Biden was president, they would have done that. But
your argument is, let's just pass it and let's negotiate later. And that reminds me of sometime when men say, don't worry about it, I'll just call you in the morning. So I've heard it all before. I've cheated on you 655 times. But this one time...
Lady, I mean, I don't... I don't think that's something you want to say on TV, sis. So I guess a couple guys that ran off on you after a good night, huh, sweetheart? Yeah, it'd be like that.
So I've heard it all before. I've cheated on you 655 times. But this one time, you know what I'm talking about. But this one time, it's going to be all better. So in the words of Sunshine Anderson as an R&B singer, I've heard it all before. So to say, let's just pass it and don't worry about it, that's not how it works.
Well, then you will see this happen every single time. If people want to use a government shutdown, you will see this happen in perpetuity every year, September 30th. One group is going to hold it, and it's not good.
That's in about 8 days.
Yeah.
So you got, if you're going for the record, you got 8 more days to go. I think the date is November 15th. That's when the pimple pops. November 15th, you heard it here first. That's when everybody, including you, are double pissed more than you are today. That's when everybody's paycheck stops. That's when transit shuts down. That's when people are starving on SNAP. everybody's going to be really, really unhappy. And they're going to say the representation, red or blue, hey guys, get back to D.C. and solve this problem.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, though. There is going to be pressure on both sides. But right now, though, the Dems are kind of losing this argument because everybody's knowing that the Dems are the only people voting no. The Republicans vote yes 12 times. The Republican voted no 12 times. Of course, you know, now 13. I don't know why I keep messing that one up.
Fight for all women. AOC's. Whatever happened to the far left's fight for all women? AOC's
That is a good point. Bro, the left is hilarious. They'll sit there and say they're for women, but then disrespect women's sports completely and allow men in it. I mean, they say they're all for women, but allow men inside, you know, women's bathrooms to be